Well, this is a summary, a brief edition of my long-form arthritis video that got pretty long. So anyway, now we're going to condense it. First thing I want to talk about is, it said in my osteoarthritis book put out by Novartis that it said it 4 times that the radiographic evidence, in other words your x-rays and your MRIs, do not correlate with the amount of pain. In fact, Jaron Sono said that with the back. He said, I've done 30,000 backs, don't bother me. Anyway, he said that sometimes he could see an x-ray of the thorax, the chest x-ray, and find the back looked like an old oak tree, all bent out of shape and destroyed, really, and no pain. He sometimes would see a perfectly wonderful back, excruciating pain. That's what we're talking about here, where you get some x-rays and you find out that isn't the structural problem is not necessarily correlated. Secondly, arthritis, the book is called Arthritis. It's the muscle, and this guy devotes a whole book to the discussion of the fact that arthritis is a soft tissue issue, a tissue issue. Number 3, I asked 8 orthopedic surgeons where the pain came from in osteoarthritis, and none of the 8 knew. They had some ideas. One said weight-bearing exercises seems to help things. Another person just came from the OR and said, yeah, we think it's extracapsular, outside the joint capsule. So nobody really knows. That is one of the big things that I have to talk to you about. This is phenomenal. The next step would be, there was a preacher who gave a lecture. This isn't in the original video, but I have to add it. Gave a lecture. He said he had pain in his knee for 3-4 months, could not get rid of it. And he went to a therapist, physical therapist, and reiterated his plight. And the therapist says, is there anything going on at home that's a problem for you? Getting into this psychological aspect, the mind-body problem, the issues. And he said, no, not really. And then he thought again, and he said, well, no, my wife was just sent to an institution for Alzheimer's. And the therapist says, you just haven't processed your grief yet. Process it, think about it, let yourself grieve, and come back and see me later. Well, within 4 days, the pain was gone. That's the most direct relationship to mind-body problems that I've ever experienced. Yeah, talking about the body. We can have long-term chronic pain. Body isn't built to take that. If it gets too excruciating, it sometimes will take you out. I've had different examples of those extreme pain situations that the body can't process. The joints don't get lubricated or nourished other than movement. There are no channels, no avenues, no absorption rates, no nothing other than exercise and movement of that joint. So instead of saying you're going out to walk the dog, say you're going out to exercise your joints. And that is so crucial. They did take a dog, strapped it to a board, immobilized the dog, and the dog got arthritis in about 3 months. That's one of the classic experiments they've done. Just a little addition to it. You use a lot of your muscles to just stand. 300 of your 600 muscles to stand. Yes, we got 2,000, but generally 300 of the 600. So yes, you can do a lot by just not doing much. That's my point. Biotensegrity. Okay, biotensegrity. We'll just touch on this. It's a whole different way of looking how the body stays stationary, stays upright, moves around, does its normal thing. Because just think of that. When you reach down and you're bending your spine, you have to balance the tension with the spine, with the movement of the spine. So that's a really complex issue with muscles, to try and do both of them. Otherwise, you'd fall over like a ton of bricks. Chimney. Yeah, just to mention sarcopenia. As you get older, you lose 1% of your muscle mass over the age of 50 for each year. So at age 80, you've got 30% less muscle mass. You don't lose fibers. That's the big thing. you still have the same number of fibers. So yes, you can build your muscle back. Doing pretty well with that. One of the orthopedic surgeons said, motion is lotion. Moving your muscles is critical. So you got to do something. It doesn't take much, just keep moving. I have a cover of an article in one of my magazines that says you don't need a hip replacement. I think that's pretty good news if you're trying to stay away from surgery. And this is Mitchell Yass, who had the article, and he has a book out on that, and he's emphasizing exercise, the name of the game. My mantra with exercise is two things. One is do it, whatever you choose to do, do it. A lot of people just skip over it and get tired and get lonely and don't want to do it. Secondly, it's easy. You don't have to bench press 250 pounds, my God. So just do these simple things. I do live the way I talk, and that is every day I make it a priority to walk at least 1.5 miles. One thing you got to remember is bones are replaced every 7 years. They have to be, otherwise you'd look like a 48 Chevrolet that just sat there and didn't get replacement parts. Anyway, so I have to add there are 100 types of arthritis. Arthritis just means inflammation and pains in your joints. So I can list a few, but the two big ones are osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Another quick point is if somebody points to the outside of their hip, just below their waist, and says they have arthritis, that's not their hip. The hip is more closer to the groin. It kind of folds inward in your body. It's not on the outside. That sometimes can be bursitis, or a tight IT band, as they call it, a contracted muscle on that in that area. As another quick part of my summary, there are 3 aspects to this long form of arthritic video that covers a lot of different things. One being John Sarno, and he talks about muscles and how when they contracture, they cause pain with the loss of oxygen or nutrients. Secondly, biotensegrity. I mentioned that. Nobody knows about biotensegrity, but if you want to look it up, here are some of the references. Number 3 is, I'm doing myself, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Is the spiritual psychological realm. If you think that you're very special and you're being dreeted on by God, then I can't help you, because that's part of your spirituality that you've chosen. It isn't necessarily the truth. I'm only saying you've chosen it. It's the truth for you. But if God was out to punish you or select you to be the recipient of extraordinarily bad circumstances, that's just life, basically. And once you can do things to mitigate that. When you start looking outside yourself and not thinking of yourself only, egotistically, like in Job, he prayed for his friends. That means he got outside himself. And so that helped him a lot, immeasurably. So just don't think that you're the only one being shit on by God. That doesn't necessarily follow with any sort of logic in the fact that why are we here? We could go into that, but this is enough for that. Yeah, pain is a direction. It's not an affliction. It's not a symptom per se. It is an indication of things that you have to change. Get de-stressed, for instance, and that is very important. And it gives you a clue. You can kind of ride your pain. If it goes away, you're on the right track. If it stays the same or gets worse, try something new. Get some help. Work on it. Yeah, anytime you're in chronic pain or something even temporarily happens, like getting the flu, wait an extra minute. Just give yourself another minute before you do something drastic. I did that once and I forgot about it after the minute. You aren't going to stay focused too much longer since you got the pain or you got the nausea, or you got the extremes. So just give it another minute. Hang on there. Get to the end of your rope, hang on. This is something I never thought about, never had even heard about when we're dealing with muscles. That is, there are 2 ways of strengthening muscles. One is concentric and the other is extrinsic. Concentric is when you do your curls. You're tightening your biceps, closing in. Extrinsic is when you're doing that, the triceps on the bottom of your upper arm are extending themselves. They are also getting stronger. So you do any motion, you're getting stronger with both concentric and eccentric motions of those synergistic muscles. I always like to use this example about one day after your joint replacement, you're not in pain anymore. I asked an orthopedic surgeon about that, and he said, well, it's a different type of pain. Well, yeah, but here, think about this. You cut the femur in half, saw that in half, and then you nail up some sheetrock in the sacrum and cram the two together and put the ligaments back in place. What happened on that? You didn't feel any pain. Wait a minute, bone on bone? What is this? It doesn't seem to follow with that explanation of how we treat the joint replacement bones. I talked to one orthopedic surgeon and I said, have you ever heard of anybody who walks 3 miles who had extreme arthritic pain? And he said, no. See, that's your answer, walking your 3 miles. That does alleviate the pain from arthritis almost entirely. And in 100% of the cases, because you're not going to hurt anything when you're moving your arthritic joint. Yes, it hurts like hell, but you're not hurting anything. You're not extending it beyond its normal range. You're not pulling it apart. If you are injured, you'd know it, and you got other techniques of handling an injured joint. That's different. This is critical too. Say you have lower back pain, say you've got hip pain. That is a weakening of your muscles, and it's forcing some other weaker muscles to take the place of your other weaker muscles. Your whole body is getting weak. You got to strengthen it a little bit. And the one way of doing that is you've got a big long muscle that connects the top part of your body to the bottom part. It's the psoas muscle. And when that tightens up, due to the fact that you have weak quads, then you have pain in the lower back and all the way down to your knee and through your hip and the whole 9 yards. Secondly, if you have butt pain, sometimes sciatica can be confused with this. That's your piriformis muscle, and that is hamstrings are getting weak. And then there's a muscle above that that tries to take over and it's too weak, and then it contractures and gives you extreme pain. One thing I've got to talk about, and it's very important. Spongy bone doesn't have any nerves in it. Spongy bone is one of the two types of bones in your body. One is the shaft, the hard bone that lines your shaft of your femur, etc. Most of the externals of your bones are that aspect of the hard bone, basically. The other, on the ends of your bones, where the joints are, that's spongy bone, cancellous bone, and it doesn't have nerves in it. I was talking to my periodontist one day, and I said, yeah, do you believe that? Is that true? I've got to check with you. And he said, yeah, I can drill a hole in your skull and you never feel it. That's cancellous bone. Yeah, let's take another quick look at an operation of a total hip or a total knee replacement. Yes, you're under general anesthesia for both of them. That means you are really under, and all of your muscles can relax. So what you're doing then, if you've ever seen an operation on YouTube, they really twist those joints around. They are pushing and pulling and doing all kinds of crazy, scary things to your joint. Well, that moves your muscles around. And as we mentioned before, it's a soft tissue issue. So you're moving your muscles around, and that relaxes them in and of themselves, like getting a deep tissue massage, only really deep. And that's when they've got their hands on your muscles. And yes, so when you get up and the next day, your muscles have relaxed. Your pain has gone away, so you got a new joint, and that wasn't the cause of the pain. Silly you.